up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Eno Sarris, baseball analytics writer at The Athletic. Eno, thanks for joining us. Let me start with the most important question. How's the offseason going? Do we get more sandwich and beer time in the offseason for you?
Yes, that's right. I've got a keg of fieldwork in the back that I've had now for 3 weeks that I will not be defeated by this keg.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, the reason I have you specifically on here is because the Dodgers broke the seal on free agency. They signed Andrew Heaney for 1 year, $8.5 million. Your colleague Ken Rosenthal was the one who broke that. And this is a signing that has gotten mixed reviews locally, I would say. People look at the ERA. They look at $8.5 million. They can't mix those two things together. I don't want to misrepresent, but you seem pretty not bullish on him. He is the type of player that you take a chance on in free agency that could jump up a level. So if you haven't already, check out Eno's latest article on The Athletic. But how would you summarize or put simply why you are optimistic about Heaney, even irregardless of the ERA that is not as pretty as you would like it to be?
Well, I think there's like a baseline that the Dodgers are paying for. That baseline is 2018 to 2020 when Andrew Heaney was like a 4.2 ERA guy with strikeouts and a lot of homers. So at the worst case scenario, they get that guy. It gives them some rotation depth until somebody like Dustin May comes back before they get fully healthy. It's always good to have another SP. So I think that is the baseline that you're starting with. And even that is hard to see for like a Yankees fan who saw the 7 ERA, but he did have a 3-year stretch where he was like a 4 ERA guy. And so even if they don't figure anything out, I think that it's an okay signing. It's like a starting pitcher depth signing.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit more to it that is exciting.
Yeah, I got a text from an Angels fan that basically said, "Oh, I'm so excited for Dodger fans to get this experience." And I'm like, we believe in player development, so we'll see. But one of the things you say in your article is there's kind of a couple metrics that you start with, one of which is strikeouts minus walks and then strikeout percentage. And these are both numbers that are very kind to Heaney. He's a guy, he's in the top 25 to 30 among starting pitchers in all of baseball in some of these categories, definitely among the top 5 to 7 among free agent starting pitching. What is it about strikeouts? I mean, it seems obvious, right? Like a guy who can get pitches past somebody without and have decent enough control not to walk people. That seems like a good recipe. What is it about those numbers that matter more in predicting future success than even something as simple as runs allowed?
Well, the big thing is that a strikeout and a walk, the pitcher controls that, to a great extent. Yes, you have the umpire, you have framing, that sort of deal, but the pitcher controls that to a great extent. When it comes to homers and especially sort of hits and balls in play, the pitcher has a lot less control over that. And another way of saying it is, I don't know as a pitcher, I don't know your true talent, ability for giving up homers until I have 3, 4, 5 seasons even. So it's great to sort of focus on strikeouts and walks. Those are the things they can control the most, and that's the best way. If you're like looking in the beginning of season, you don't know if a guy's going to be good, if you're a bettor, if you're into fantasy, like the best predictive value is just strikeouts minus walks. But I've also developed a stat called stuff, and stuff is more about the movement of your pitches, the movement, the velocity, how the pitches fit together as an arsenal. And he does really well there too, because he's got a high spin fastball. He's got a really good slurve, and the changeup is good too. And I think what they're betting on, and this is where the problem has been, he's given up homers. He probably has deserved those homers in the past. That's been what's kept him back from being a better pitcher. Maybe it's because he only throws 91, 92, but it's also because he's a low slot, high spin pitcher. So basically, he's not getting that ride out of that fastball that you'd want from him that would make him a better pitcher. And he's also not getting that sink on a sinker that other guys from his slot would get. So that's the clay. That's where you start talking about the Dodgers player development system, Dodgers pitching coaching, and you start thinking, oh, what if we can just coax a little bit? I've had a graph in my piece. If they could coax a half inch or an inch more vertical movement out of his fastball, that changes the outcomes on that fastball completely and could make him more of a mid-threes asset for them on a 1-year deal. And this is the kind of thing that every team is looking for. You just look up, the 5 to the Giants where they talk about Wood, DeSclafani, Gaussman. they just did all those guys on 1-year deals. Everybody wants a 1-year deal that pops and gives you what you need.
Yeah. I mean, and as Dodger fans, we are prone to believe like, hey, our player development system can do this. Like, it's like the optimistic Dodger fans are like, your trash is our treasure. We, Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, Justin Turner, go down the list. The thing with Heaney is, like, he obviously, the Yankees were interested, and obviously things from a small sample size, but got worse there. I mean, is it reasonable, do you think, for a team like when he signs with the Dodgers? Do your hopes get higher? Like, okay, I actually think if there's one team that's going to unlock this, it's the Dodgers. Like, are they in that kind of a category as a franchise?
I would say so. I respect their player development as, top 3 at the very worst. I would say it might be number 1. I mean, the Astros just trotted out, three starting pitchers that maybe nobody knew about before, like Luis Garcia or Urquidy, Framber Valdez. Those guys went for like $10,000, were older starting pitchers than Dominican Republic, and that was like all, player development. Yeah. So I would say the Astros, Dodgers, they're right there. I have a lot of respect for the Yankees too. And what you saw with the Yankees was they tried to get Heaney to elevate the fastball more, and that was good for his whiffs. The problem is Yankee Stadium is really a tough place to pitch for pitchers. I think especially for a left-hander with the short right porch, but I think just generally it's a tough place to pitch. You saw that Garrett Cole, who got the biggest contract in baseball, had some issues in Yankee Stadium as well. And so I think that division and that park, some part of what, we want for Heaney, is to get him out of that.
Yeah.
You get him out of that stadium, get him out of Baltimore, get him out of Boston. And some part of that will just be parks, better fitting. I do wonder, everyone says, he should throw the fastball higher. It did lead to the most home runs of his career. So I think that I would focus on pitch shape, and see if I could alter his fastball a little bit.
And are those to a novice, altering pitch shape, is that something that is relatively, I don't want to say easy to do, but is it a reasonable expectation that that's something that's doable? Because he is 30, right? So clearly some teams have probably tried this.
That's a great question. It is doable. A lot of the breakouts come from little, even half-inch to inch changes. I think you could look to your own pitcher in Julio Urias with that new curveball that he came up with. He had the curveball and the slider, and then he kind of came up with a combo, and that was what worked for him. So maybe it's teaching Heaney a cutter. Maybe it's a new pitch. Maybe it's a slight alteration on an existing pitch. I do know that I've talked to guys behind the scenes, and they've said that the number of teams that can actually change shapes on pitches and change pitchers this way is a lot smaller than people think from the outside. It's not that easy. However, the Dodgers are on that list.
Love it. Love it. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And like I said, folks, if you're not already subscribed to The Athletic, it's the best stuff out there. Eno's got an article up. Like I said, teams looking for the next Robbie Ray, and Heaney's a guy who comes up on a couple of the lists. So we appreciate your time, Eno. Enjoy the rest of your offseason, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.